As Bitcoin gets hit and knocked down once again, the crypto market reset is in full bloom. And this one particular signal is what I'm waiting for before I start going crazy, buying new coins and deploying my capital that has been on the sidelines. Obviously, if you're longtime followers of the channel, you know I have a simple but effective method for taking profits and putting money on the sidelines just for moments like this when the market does reset. And if you've been following the channel since October or November or September, or as far back as July and August, you'll know that many of the coins that we've covered on this channel have done 10, 20, 30x and more. So if you're not taking profits at those levels, you need to hopefully re-examine your strategy. And if we're blessed with this next leg that I think we're going to get, you can put those strategies into effect on this next leg. I certainly hope you do. And that way, if we get another rinse and it does turn bullish again, you'll be in a position to do exactly what we're talking about in this video. I hope you guys are excited because this is going to be my playbook, not only for how I'm analyzing the market as a whole, but exactly how I'm about to go forward and deploy some capital as I see this one signal materialize. If you guys are excited, go ahead, hit that like button. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. And remember, as always, each and every comment on this video is entered to win your very own hardware wallet. And as always, if you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe and put that bell notification on. YouTube has been known to gatekeep some of this crypto content, so that bell notification makes sure that you get the content first. With that said, let's dive in. So if we look back at what's happened in Bitcoin land over the last year or so, really starting at the beginning of 2020, we had, of course, what people call the black swan, but was really the white swan event here in March of 2020 when the pandemic hit and people were running for the hills, and there was this huge, very natural, organic rush into Bitcoin, especially as we started to see the inflation narrative develop. And as we'll see in a couple of seconds, that inflation narrative is starting to reach a fever pitch. I don't think it's ever been as valid to talk about USD inflation against Bitcoin as it ever has been. Right now is the period at which inflation is really starting to take hold and take effect. And so that's where I think this narrative, even though it seems like the narrative is played out, the truth is the narrative is really only beginning to play out. Let me explain. So what we got here was the inflation narrative really starting to set in with a ton of money printing and people rushing into risk on assets. And then what we got here, first of all, was the Michael Saylor bump, which is when we first got MicroStrategy into the market in October. And this set off a little first wave of institutional buyers. And that really drove us up here into December. But then we got the Elon Musk era, right? Which what we talked about is the Elon Musk era was actually not driven by institutional investors as much as we thought, Elon Musk is going to bring with him an army of institutional adoption because of what has happened and what has been accomplished with Tesla. And that might be true. However, those institutional buyers didn't immediately rush into the market and make market buys the day of the Tesla announcement. In fact, it probably took a while for a lot of these people to get in. And by the time we saw this rush up here to this next level, you're looking at where Bitcoin had started to form its local topping pattern. Now, most sophisticated investors are looking around this era and saying, wow, Bitcoin here at 50, 60,000, it was just in the tens of thousands a couple of months ago, 11,000. That's a 5x here in just a couple of months. If we go back to, March, it's a 10x, right, over the last year. And so most people are looking at this and saying, hey, how can I buy something that's up 1,000%? Instead of seeing it as an aggressively growing asset, they'll see it as an asset with a lot of downside risk because, well, look, it's so inflated, it's so parabolic. And so they'll be looking for some real logical pullbacks and corrections in this market, which are inevitable and going to happen. And so you can see everything after this Elon Musk sort of explosion as, I guess, a lot of retail FOMO that came in, most likely. And what I believe is happening here, and which I'll show you is backed up by some data, is that the big institutional players, while they keep creeping in, they're not leaving. They're still waiting for an opportunity to really deploy cash, which these flushes, these washes, really give that opportunity. Now, I wanted to show this image which corroborates this, which is after the Tesla announcement, we see that the amount of big whale wallets, which are typically institutional wallets, you're talking about 100 plus Bitcoin, right? So you're talking about, at the very, very minimum, $5 million, but you're probably looking at more like tens of millions of dollars if you're holding over 100 Bitcoin, and this is up to 1,000 Bitcoin. And so you're seeing that the amount of whale wallets, of big wallets, is just growing over time, even with this rinse in the market. As this hard wash happens, you see a big spike up of the institutional wallets holding Bitcoin in large amounts. And so this shows here and corroborates that the big players are getting in at these prices. And usually the smart money typically ends up setting the trend. And what I wanted to show here, also corroborating that the big whale wallets aren't selling, is that if you look here, this chart goes all the way back to, this is the 2017 run here in the price line. And what you see here on the bottom is the volume of whale wallets or long-term wallets, these older wallets, the OG whales that are sitting on thousands and thousands of Bitcoin from way back in the day. Well, if you look back at 2017, those wallets were not ready for the blow off top of 20,000. They didn't sell that top, but they did sell heavily into the relief rally. They didn't sell when it sort of bobbled around 20 and 18. Then it came down to 10 or so and bounced all the way up to 16. Now that 16K rally was where the big sell-off from the old OG, big old whale money, that's where they started selling. Now, if you can see here, those old wallets have not started selling, not nearly the volume that we got back here in early 2018, late 2017. That is because we haven't seen the actual end of this formation. Now, I believe that the end of the cycle will be marked with even old long-term holding wallets selling heavily and taking profits because they think that the party's over. Again, we've only seen these big wallets grow. And quite frankly, looking at this Bitcoin chart and how parabolic it is, it makes sense that these institutions would be waiting for pullbacks like this to get in. So the question is, where are we? Where are we headed right now? And what's going to happen over the next few days and weeks? Well, I've been talking with a lot of my hardcore TA buddies, especially some of them who you probably know they've been on the channel before. The point is that a lot of these people are looking at this as actually a pretty healthy flush if we can stay above and really not create any newer lower lows. A little sweep to the lows, potentially touching just under 30K, that wouldn't be devastating, but if we start playing around in the 20s, it's going to get really bloody and it would be a whole different story. However, if we are able to sweep these lows in the low 30s, hopefully that's as low as we go, and then work our way up back to this precise area, I believe we will have an explosive growth above it, and that is the $41,000 to $42,000 range. If we're able to get above and hold above 42, I believe we'll start to rip our way upwards on Bitcoin, and that would mean to me that the worst is over and I'll start deploying capital into some of these ridiculously juicy altcoins that have been absolutely pummeled by this recent downturn in the market. There are so many coins that have gotten destroyed. It feels so very much like September and October, right after DeFi mania, when all of these coins like Sushi and Phantom, they all got destroyed, but they ended up coming back. I mean, look at Solana, Sushi, Phantom, all of these coins went absolutely ridiculously parabolic as Bitcoin regained its footing, but were absolutely tragically hit right here in September and August. And I believe that that's what we're looking at right now. However, things could change based on new information, but if we're able to regain this 42 level, I'm going to start deploying capital again, and I'm going to be looking at DeFi projects and especially NFT projects that have gotten destroyed. And I know what a lot of you are saying, NFTs are dead. Now, they said that about DeFi right here in September and October, and look at what happened after that. When something is dead in crypto after it's shown such incredible penetration in not only the mainstream, but actual consumer use cases, and the prices on the charts are going down, that is a phenomenal opportunity typically to counter trade the sentiment of the market. And why do I think that NFTs are not dead? Well, look here. We have a report from today that NFT volume has more than tripled despite the crash. So the actual trading and the actual collecting of these assets continues to grow. And as we know, more and more brands are getting into the NFT space, from Instagram to eBay. And now we even have GameStop getting into NFTs. And I know that doesn't mean anything because GameStop is already kind of like a weird meme. But the reality is that this is not going away. And digital assets and digital ownership is just at the beginning of its life cycle, especially for consumer use cases. We also have yet another Sotheby's auction for an 8-figure NFT CryptoPunk moving to a solo auction event. And that just shows again that this stuff continues to be interesting. Even the seller admits here that this is probably not bringing, new people into the market, that this isn't bringing in an entirely new crowd. However, there is a real validation going on here, and the NFT community is hardcore and committed to building it. So I think it's one of those things where, as much as there are people who are having these negative reactions, I'm sure even watching this, I believe that people need to overcome their biases and realize that this is a huge innovation in crypto and that the current deadness of the NFT market will be looked back, I believe, as a huge, huge opportunity. That is, if we are able to regain our bullishness and continue this bull run. If not, it'll be for the next bull cycle. But I do believe that when things bull, NFTs have tremendous consumer use cases and shouldn't be overlooked. That's my 2 cents for you today on NFTs. Now, of course, this is really the leading headline that Joe Biden has announced $6 trillion in more federal spending. And the actual math brings this with 3 other spending initiatives, each valued at $2 trillion. That's 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 6 equals $12 trillion, which would send the actual money supply of USD so skyrocketingly high, it's kind of hard to fathom. And so if that is the case, that we're going to potentially have an influx of 12 trillion US dollars into the economy, well, it's almost unfathomable that Bitcoin wouldn't grow in US dollar value, that crypto wouldn't grow in US dollar value. And we all know what happens when crypto goes on runs is that it tends to overprice itself. So in my opinion, the inflation narrative and Bitcoin as a hedge is still a fantastic narrative that is only getting more and more gas each and every day. And so if Bitcoin goes on this run, it's going to take with it the liquidity floor for Ethereum, DeFi, altcoins, and everything to explode upwards, at least for another few legs. This is why things are so bullish. And as stated here by Plan B, Bitcoin has no top because fiat has no bottom. That is really the biggest observation that I think people need to have in their mind, is that Bitcoin is being priced in dollars, which keep going down in value, and Bitcoin holds and grows its own value by being deflationary, effectively removing supply or lowering supply with lost coins and other stuff like that. So this is one of the relationships that just continues to get stronger. Even though it's not talked about as much, the inflation narrative is still very much alive and well, and things like this will continue to stimulate that discussion. And people are saying, well, maybe the average person isn't investing into Bitcoin because of this. It doesn't matter what average people do. In this market, it's too mature, it's too big. The average mom and pop putting their $20, $50 into Bitcoin matters zero. Even if they put their life savings into Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. What matters is what institutional players are doing. And when I explain to high net worth individuals or people who manage funds that they can get reliably 10, 20, 30% yield on stable coins and crypto, their heads explode. And so we know for a fact that people are coming into crypto. We know for a fact that this is the next wave. And we know for a fact that the big money managers, who are managing tens of millions, billions of dollars, that 1% or 2% change is the difference of a huge, huge amount of wealth. So I believe that this train keeps going, especially with headlines like this. And when I look at charts that show the influx of big whale wallets, that show the lack of selling from the old HODL wallets, those real OGs, makes me feel like there are still a few plays left in this bull run, and the cycle just feels incomplete. Again, I'm looking for that 42K range to start deploying capital. So what am I going to be buying? Funny you should ask. Well, I want to say this before I go into this segment, because I say this a lot, but I feel like people sweep this under the rug, which is altcoins are risky. They have an insane risk to reward profile where if you get rewarded by the ups, they could be absolutely ridiculous gains. But there's a lot of risk there. And if you guys are not prepared for this, you shouldn't be in the market and you shouldn't be investing anything you can't afford to lose. I got a lot of name calling on the timeline over the last few weeks, and it was made pretty clear to me that people don't know the market that they're playing in. They don't know how to operate in this market. You need to take profits on the way up, especially if you get crazy gains. You need to understand that the lower the market cap, the higher the risk, but that's also the higher the potential reward. Now, with that disclaimer out of the way, and also letting you guys know, these are my opinions, these are my strategies. You don't have to follow them. And quite frankly, you should always be comparing everything I give you, everything I say on this channel against a wide breadth of different sources and resources. Now, with that said, Chainlink is such an obvious bet for 2021. They have Chainlink V2 coming out, and that's why as I get confirmation over 42, I'll be dumping money into Chainlink. Beyond Chainlink, obviously, I'm a permabull on these L1 narratives, with Ethereum being the king for sure. But we also have Binance Coin, Cardano. Obviously, I'm a massive Polkadot fan. We have Polygon here sitting at number 15. I think it peaked up here at number 11. A fantastic play here for Polygon. Obviously, Polygon's transactions, I think, outstripped Binance Smart Chain recently. Solana being a slightly lesser developed, but also strong L1 play. And then we get down here to the DeFi plays like the Aaves, which got knocked back significantly. That should be an easy bounce back for Aave. And of course, one of my babies, Rune, Thorchain, which has actually done fantastically during this dip. I think Thorchain is only off its all-time high by, 40%. I guess it's not great, but it did peak up at $20. We've been covering Thorchain since, 30 cents or so here. It peaked up at $20. And so, this is another one that's done fantastically and I believe will bounce really hard when the market comes back, along with Luna and some others. Those are the big caps. Those are the majors. Those are the ones that will probably just bounce regardless. But then there were also some lower cap ones, specifically a coin called HODLer, which I've covered several times here on the channel and never really got its moment in the sun. It launched into a really bad market. There was no FOMO around it and there was no DeFi narrative really super hot at the time. So I think some of these lower cap DeFi projects will really explode once people realize how useful and how cool they are and they see some TVL in there. So there it is. This is how I see the market. I'm waiting for the 42K confirmation. I'm not scared if we sweep lows once again. However, if we start constantly grinding below those lows, that's going to be a different story. Spending a lot of time in the 20s is not something I want to do. Unless you have a time machine and we're going to a Mr. Gatsby party, I have no interest in the 20s as far as deploying my capital. Now, as far as if we're able to regain that 42 level, which I am optimistic about, then I'm going to be deploying capital into DeFi projects, some of these majors that have been hit hard, and then looking for these awesome projects that have not caught this bounce back up yet. There's a lot of new projects as well that hit the market, and unlike in February where everything was doing massive multiples out of the gate, it feels a lot more like September, October, where things are sitting about where they launched, really at those pre-sale prices, at those IDO prices, and that's a fantastic opportunity if the project hasn't really gotten its pump yet and maybe has a big product release, some huge developments ahead of it. Again, I'm always looking at the Polkadot ecosystem, I'm always looking at DeFi, and I'm also looking at these different layer ones and their baby projects. There are projects that are close to them, like QuickSwap is to Polygon. Those types of plays are always very interesting to me. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know if you did. Let me know if you enjoy my approach to the market. And if you got some value out of it, go ahead, give me a thumbs up. Remember, as always, each and every comment on this video is entered to win your very own hardware wallet. There are scammers always in the comments pretending to be me, so ignore those scam comments. Don't fall for it. That's not me. As always, I thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me on Twitter at ElioTrades. The link for that is in the description. Make sure you subscribe for more videos. Put that bell notification on. It's good for your health, and I'll see you very soon on the next episode.